Issues Letter, a very popular book in the late 60s, Population Bomb by Paul Ehrlich. And it began with the statement, the battle to feed all humanity is over. In the 1970s, hundreds of millions of people will starve to death. Is it possible that that idea was right, only at the wrong time?
No, absolutely not. The innovation to feed everyone on the planet is clearly within our reach once again. And just like in the 1980s and 90s, when it was innovative new seeds funded by philanthropy through the incredible work of Norman Borlaug, we avoided starvation. In fact, calories per person went up in Asia more in that decade than any other decade, and that helped young people develop their brains, not be malnourished, and some of those same types of innovation are what we need to rededicate ourselves to today, to take the billion that still worry about food and are malnourished, to get that down to zero.
Do you really think the planet could sustain 9, 10 billion people?
Oh, absolutely. All you have to do is take African agricultural productivity up to half of U.S. productivity, and you solve this food gap.
Right.
There is a tendency as you get richer to eat more meat, and meat is sort of an indirect, inefficient way of eating lots of grain. And so we do need to raise agricultural output even more, slightly more than the population will go up. But because we're only going up at 0.8%, the real crisis are the poorest and how little we put into their needs. The innovation money, less than 10% of it, goes to the groups that focus on the needs of those 1 billion.
Right.
Because I'm a vegan. You know, I come from what is America, which is a meat-eating culture. I'm a vegan now, and it's the only way to wellness. It's the only way your body can naturally fight off these first introduction diseases. If they did not subsidize the beef industry, for instance, or the poultry industry, or the fish industry, or the agricultural industry, food would be astronomical, and we would be forced to be vegans because it would be growing our own. And as you said, only 5% of us are self-sufficient now anyway. But what I want to point out about the beef industry, if the subsidization, and this is how much taxes, your taxes, everyone's taxes are going towards just the beef industry alone. If you took away those subsidies, a steak would cost $90 in the supermarket, and a pound of hamburger would cost $35. My God.
With toxic additives found in food like pork and buns, many Chinese consumers are having a tough time finding food that's safe to eat. But according to a report last week, China's communist officials may not have these problems. Now, that's because some are getting their food from special suppliers who have to meet strict safety standards. Here's more.
As food safety scandals continue to emerge in China, local media revealed that some communist officials are supplied with clean, safe products, especially grown for them. In an article that was taken offline, the Southern Weekend reported last week on a special greenhouse in Beijing. It's protected by a 6-feet-high iron fence, and its organic produce goes to Beijing's customs officials. These special food suppliers are not limited to Beijing. Their products range from fruits and vegetables to pork and poultry. These suppliers have to comply with strict safety standards before their products can reach the mouths of communist officials.
Hello everyone, welcome to Global Government News. Today is Wednesday, January 25th, 2012, and I'm Darko. My website is ggnonline.com and ddarko2012 on YouTube. All the headlines and links will be posted in YouTube's video description, and I'm ready to go here. Alright, so we just saw that video with Mr. Bill Gates, the philanthropist. Some people call him a eugenicist, which means he's for population control measures, depopulation control measures, and it sounds all nice and fancy on the surface, but he's talking about forced abortions, vaccinations, drugging the water and stuff like that. And they actually used a reference to who? To Paul Ehrlich. Well, this guy is actually tied with this guy Holdren in writing that book, which is what? Obama's Science Czar, which says what? They want to promote forced abortions and mass sterilization needed to save the planet. Book he authored in '77 advocates for extreme totalitarian measures to control the population. And they were talking about food and getting food to all these malnourished people. Well, the Aboriginals in Australia and the tribes in Africa and indigenous and Native America and America, the natives, they don't need to have all that crap. They don't need genetically modified food to make adequate nutrition. They can get it off the land, and as long as you leave them alone and let the animals graze and do their normal cycles, and the indigenous usually take it's all around standard everywhere in Australia and natives in North America. They take what they need. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying we got to go back to this old system. I'm just saying that if you leave them alone, they'll be fine. There's a reason why they're malnutritioned, and it's because of people like him who then come in with these genetically modified foods, which do what? Genetically modified soy linked to sterility, infant mortality. So again, they want to create infertility or cause people to be sterile, i.e. they cannot have children and procreate, only so that douchebags like them can, and bring about the master race. Monsanto's best selling, sorry for my language there, but Monsanto's, they're trying to kill us, so sorry, but I'm not. Monsanto's best-selling herbicide, Roundup, linked to infertility. So that's one of the philanthropic organizations that brought you GMO that Mr. Gates was referring to, Monsanto, which is going to help cause infertility. So there you go, guys. That's what it's all about. Also, he cares so much about poor people. Look at this, 131 African children vaccinated at gunpoint. Do Bill Gates and Paul Ehrlich and them, Offit, approve? So they know, and this is a typical elitist, eugenicist, social engineers behavior and perception of us, the sheep, is that we don't know better, so they have to force us at gunpoint to do things. So moving on here, we saw the video about the Chinese regime or party getting organic food. Did you like that? While everyone else is getting garbage-fed beef and plastic rice, we have raw milk, good enough for Queen Elizabeth, but prohibited for ordinary Canadians. So as the FDA and the EPA are SWAT teaming and raiding just poor, non-violent Amish men and women, families, and just health food stores out in California, a SWAT team style, because they want to sell real milk with all the antibiotics and hormones and all that stuff. Few people realize, however, that Queen Elizabeth and her two sons drink this supposedly dangerous food item, talking about raw milk, as do nearly all Canadian farmers surveyed in a 2010 study published in Preventative Medicine. Okay, look at this. Prince Charles' secret sanctuary, when Prince Charles needs to get away from it all, he heads for his organic farm. And this is the same guy. So yeah, he went in there and started complaining about these pesky pesticides when he bought this land. And what do they have? These Aberdeen-Angus beef. And look at this, the Aberdeen-Angus Cattle Society. There is a close association between the society and the royal family, going back to Queen Victoria's fondness for Aberdeen-Angus beef. Ooh, a fondness. But that's funny, because Prince Charles told America to cut down on steaks for the sake of the world and save the planet. We're jeopardizing the water supply, so that's why people like Bush and the Bush family buy their own aquifers in South America, right? Then we have geoengineered food. Climate fix could boost crop yields. Let's spray the planet and create another form of pesticide on all the crops in order to boost crop yields, which are going to be GMO. Now, don't vomit here, guys, but for a few years now, a handful of scientists have been proposing a grandiose technological fix for the world's climate to combat the effects of global warming, which don't exist. A scheme called geoengineering. Some people call it chemtrails, some people call it weather modification. They're spraying of aerosols in the sky, and they've been doing it for at least 10 to 20 years now. But they're proposing it. It's out there idea. So the federal government, they wouldn't allow that to happen unless it was safe. Trust me. So FDA claims no need to test specific fish for radioactivity. Remember that after Fukushima. Canada and U.S. cut back radiation reporting May 9th, 2011. And what did I cover here in the last week? Radioactive rainwater found in Canada. Also, what? An increase in thyroid cancer. So you can put one and one together. Says here, health hazard alert. Ooh, alert. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency, who cares a crap about you, says rancidity detected in President's Choice Organics infant cereal. So be careful. It's got a weird smell in the organic food. So, yeah, be careful when you crack open that raw milk. It has a weird smell, too. It says here, federal judge says states not allowed to regulate nuclear safety, so the state of Vermont's effort to shut down a nuclear plant has been halted by a federal judge, probably a Mason, who ruled officials exceeded their authority. Again, because the federal government cares about you. Repeat business, FDA approves new cancer drug to treat toxicity caused by another cancer drug. Breaking news, cancer drugs make tumors more aggressive and deadly, so does getting all that chemotherapy and radiation. Indonesia confirms a second bird flu death this year. This is January 20th, 2012. 5-year-old toddler has died from the bird flu virus in Jakarta, Indonesia. Then next up, we have bird flu takes its toll on an ostrich farm in South Africa. That's right. It says here is one of the country's worst outbreaks of bird flu. It says here, exports to Europe. The biggest market for South Africa's ostrich meat is Europe. So that's all going to tie in with this video. Stick with me here because I'm going to keep moving fast. Lots to cover. Mexico toll hits 9 from H1N1 swine flu. This is Sunday, January 22nd. So now they're saying H1N1 outbreaks in Mexico. Here we go. Morelos, Mexico, 19 cases confirmed, says the health secretary. Then from Rents.com, a H1N1 synthetic flu may be test for H5N1 bird flu. So remember back in 2008, 2009 when this whole fear was going on of the swine flu, and everybody got their vaccine. The fear is that once a vaccination against H1N1 is started, the virus will reassort itself into a hybrid H1N1/H5N1 strain or mutate into a new H5N1 strain. The current H1N1 strain, as previously reported by WMR, contains synthetically gene spliced strains of two forms of human flu viruses, two forms of swine flu viruses, and a single form of avian flu virus. And remember, I just covered recently that swine flu scientists say it looks like it was released from a lab, quote, accidentally. H1N1 recombination in Egypt, says H5N1 raises concern. And just so you know here, Egypt, H5N1 case reported, says it became the first case of the virus reported in Egypt this year since the first outbreak announced in 2006. So as everyone took their vaccines or they got it through transmission person to person, it's just been incubating in their bodies now for 3 or 4 years. It says here that the recently released H5N1 sequences from Egypt contain H1N1 sequences. So you like that? The recent comments by Yoshihiro Kawaka on the data in the censored Nature paper indicate that H5 on an H1N1 genetic background transmits in parrots. He said the paper remains censored, but the comments suggest the H5 was added to the gene segments from the H1N1. However, an early study suggests that the gene was critical for the jump from swine to human, so it's unclear. But it goes on here and it says, although the ferret study did not produce a lethal H5N1 in ferret model, the wide circulation of such sequences in human populations could have significant implications. January 19th, 2012, bird flu deaths reported in Vietnam and Cambodia. So the WHO is concerned that the new H5N1 influenza research could undermine their operation, their eugenics operation. They say the changes can make it more transmittable between humans. Are controls on bird flu research a good idea? Well, you don't really have a freaking choice. It says here, a Stanford biologist has said the best defense against biotechnology is more biotechnology. Wisconsin team that created a more contagious form of bird flu did not produce a highly lethal super flu, they're saying. But this is damage control, guys, because it did not kill any of them. So you saw the one. Bird flu deaths reported in Vietnam, Cambodia, the 19th of January. Bird flu detected in wild birds. And this was in the area of India. So also, South Africa and Brazil increased poultry meat exports. In South America, poultry increases 97%. EU expected to lift ban on fresh chickens from Thailand. This is from March of 2010. Researchers turned mosquitoes into flying vaccinators. And they say, the quote, the science is really beautiful. Of course, for dengue fever, genetically modified mosquitoes released into Malaysian Asian forest. That was last year. Then 24th of January, WHO on dengue, explosive outbreaks are occurring. July 2010, even though the Florida dengue fever outbreak leads back to CIA and Army experiment, these GM mosquitoes are to be released in the U.S. and Florida for the first time as early as January 2012. And when they did it in 2009, they were all the dengue fever carrying type. This is GGN, and I'm Darko. Thank you.